The Moabite Stone, also known as the 𝐤𝐄𝐅 stele, is one of the most important archaeological discoveries in the mid-19th century. Currently located in the Louvre Museum, the stone is a victory proclamation of King Mitcham of Moab over the Israelites dating back to the 9th century BC. The significance of the stone lies in the details in the kings of Israel that are named that corroborates Old Testament history. The stone recalls that for a period of time Moab was paying tribute to northern Israel, after which Mitcham revolted and claimed victory. This story is strikingly similar to the one found in 2 Kings 3 naming Mitcham firsthand. The name Yahweh is first used in Genesis 2:4 with the creation of Adam and Eve. The vessels come into play after the Exodus with the building of the tabernacle. What makes this mentioning by King Mitcham so important is because often liberal scholars will promote the documentary hypothesis, also known as the JEDP hypothesis. The traditional view is that the Old Testament was written from the late 15th to the late 5th century BC, while the critical view says that Moses, Yahweh worship, the Torah were invented during the 6th to 5th century BC by Jewish priests to help encourage fellow Jews while in exile. Since the Moabite stone predates the critical view, this shows that the Torah was written centuries before exile took place. Overall, the Moabite stone adds validation to the biblical accounts are historical and not contrived myth.
I wanted to show you this line here, Kingdom of Israel. We have right here a Yod, a Hey, a Vav, and a Hey. Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. What are we spelling? Yahweh. We have the name of the God of Israel. And that is about our presentation on stone. I've got a couple more images here showing the text. There it is right there. That's a good zoom in for you guys that can't see what I'm pointing to up here on the front row. The Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. Again, right to left. And there's those periods that mark the end of the words. Now, I learned one more thing I'll tell you real quick. Guess what else they did? When you get to the end of a line, I said, these guys are messed up. They've already wasted their period. How are they going to show the end of the sentence? They take the period and they move it from the bottom up to the middle of the character. So, duh, they're back on track again. These guys aren't so stupid after you get to study them a little bit. Well, that's the hardcore copy of the presentation on the stone itself, and I guess we'll take a question or two, Carl. Is that
Larry, this has been absolutely awesome. Yeah. Absolutely awesome. I'm going to have to sit at your feet and learn how to read this, because we accept your marvelous gift. I sent with you just the face. You completed the entire platform, the full dimension, in as close as we know what the original dimensions were, in full profile.
The cast that was made of the inscription has enabled archaeologists to largely reconstruct what this ancient text says. It was written by a king of Moab called Mitcham, who is dated to about 830 BC. And its chief significance, it mentions Israel under the title House of Omri, suggesting that Omri, king of Israel, the founder of the dynasty, was actually a very significant and important figure. And it also mentions the Lord, Yahweh, the God of the Old Testament, in connection with vessels of the Lord that were taken away.
In 1868, in Palestine, there was discovered a stone from the kingdom of Moab. This is referred to as the 𝐤𝐄𝐅 stele, or the Moabite stone. It actually seems to corroborate the story from 2 Kings chapter 3 by bringing up the revolt of Mitcham against Israel. 𝐤𝐄𝐅's stone mentions that their god Chemosh, the god of Moab, had been angry with his people and had allowed them to be subjugated to Israel. But eventually Chemosh returned and assisted Mitcham to throw off the yoke of Israel and restore the lands of Moab. The Moabite stone says this: "As for Omri, the king of Israel, and he humbled Moab for many years, for Chemosh was angry with his land, and his son reigned in his place. And he also said, I will oppress Moab. In my days he said so, but I triumphed over him and over his house, and Israel has perished. It has perished forever. And Omri took possession of the whole land of Medeba, and he lived there in his days, and half the days of his son Ahab, 40 years. And Chemosh said to me, Go, take Nebo from Israel. And I went in the night, and fought against it from the daybreak until midday, and I took it. And I killed the whole population, 7,000 male subjects and aliens, and female subjects, aliens, and servant girls. For I had devoted them to destruction for the god Ashtar Chemosh. And from there I took the vessels of Yahweh, and I presented them before the face of Chemosh. And the king of Israel had built Yahaz, and he stayed there throughout his campaign against me. And Chemosh drove him away before my face. Later it says, And I have built Beth Medeba, and Beth Diblatin, and Beth Baal Meon, and I brought there flocks of the land, and the house of David dwelt in Haranen. This seems to corroborate the Bible's account of Mesha revolting against Israel, as 2 Kings says that they did. And third, it mentions by name Israel, David, and Yahweh. Any one of those references would be amazing. Some critics still want to believe that there's no evidence for David outside the Bible, but this is now our second ancient and extra-biblical reference to him by name.
Where are you right now, guys?
We are in Moabite Stone. This is it.
It's the four letters.
4 letter. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is Yahweh, which means Jehovah.
Yahweh, and you can see it right here as well, how they spell it.
Yeah.
Point it, Miriam.
It's Yahweh.
Say it. You missed it.
I did say it. This is translated to Jehovah. There it is.
That's the one. That's the translation.
And there's here again. This. Yeah.
And that's in here.
There. Okay, let's go. I had a hard time to look for it.